wake up with the sun and struggle through the day. In every passing moment,
the podcast people just tuning in, we've already been going live for a few minutes here. I wasn't going to include you guys. This is going to be a special live feed, but then we started having all this wonderful conversation, and I couldn't help myself. I had to hit record. I had to record it. Hey, Wolf, I'm going to start reading the tablets on here. I'm going to start reading the tablets chapter by chapter on the podcast for people who want to hear it. And I'm going to do it with some gnarly, like Om vibrational music behind it. And I'm going to do them with maybe some psychedelic visuals or something like that. I'm not going to have my big hairy face on there. So that way people can, I think it's beautiful meditation. No bullshit. Ashley has me read that stuff to her at night sometimes. She goes to sleep. Marcella, that is so sweet of you. Marcella Luna said, you and your girl have been a true inspiration. I'll tell Ashley and she's going to cry. She's a big baby. You guys see when she gave me. And there's these giant silicone ice cubes in there. It was like $6 or something, or $10. It's 88 ounces. You can just drink all the water you can drink. And if you fill one up in the morning, or fill it up halfway if you don't want to carry around 15 pounds of water with you, make sure you stay hydrated by just checking that if it's not close to empty. This is not moonshine. Absolutely not. Hey, you guys got to follow Off the Grid 65. He is literally one of the funniest. People post a bunch of, and I'm fine with whatever kind of humor people are into, but Off the Grid posts a lot of positive stuff, a lot of funny stuff, a mixture of all kinds of stuff, and animal humor, like crazy dumb German shepherds like mine. Yeah. Well, I'm going to read them on here, and I'm going to do the psychedelic thing and put some music behind it. Did you guys see? Go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. I know all you guys aren't subscribed. I'm doing all this for you guys. I love you so much. You gotta give me some subscriptions on the YouTube channel because we've got this awesome community going on Instagram. How do we have 5,500 followers on Instagram and we have 59 followers on YouTube? What are you guys doing? I don't even know if that matters. We need more subscribers, though. You'll get videos when I put them out. We're about to start putting out crazy amounts of videos. Did you see the 60-second video clip I did the other day? I did like a 60-second video explaining what the community is all about. Just subscribed. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, did you guys see the I'm not exactly attracting viewers to this one particular video. It was kind of a out of the or off the rails video for me, but I don't care. I'll do whatever I feel like doing. It's that whole living in truth thing. I went and saw the psychic. I went and saw a psychic for the first time. I was curious about that, and had a pretty interesting experience. Then went home and ate a bunch of mushrooms and realized she tried to put a curse on me. True story. Look at that. 58 subscribers. Up from 57 5 minutes ago. Look at you guys subscribing. Building that community. Spreading that love. Best people in the world. Not that one. That one I can't check because I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone, so I can't look and see which one you're talking about. I don't remember. You made a post relating to this month's theme on the account. Theme, philosophical ideas that help new fledgling atheists with the no purpose crisis. Oh, I want to read it. Ryan, if you'll send it to me, if you'll hunt it down for me, buddy, I'll tell you where I found it if I can find it. See, I don't think that being an atheist means you have no purpose, though. That's my thing. I think that you can be an atheist and be a pandeist. I'm an atheist pandeist, animist, and I have a lot of purpose. I feel like I have more purpose than I ever had as a Christian, or I ever had as a religious person. I was devoutly Christian. I was in Christian bands, played at Christian, at churches on the stage and stuff, and on Sundays, and would do youth group lessons and stuff sometimes. I was very Christian, but I never had the purpose as a Christian I do now. I have so much more purpose and so much more of a love of life and an understanding of what I'm here to do. Because I'm not here to fulfill a bunch of we were just talking earlier about cult and culture and all that, but yeah, love and light, man. Just proliferating. I'll tell you, when you talk about purpose with a religious person, especially like a Christian person, I always used to ask my preachers, like, why are we out preaching to tribal people out in the middle of Africa if they're not held accountable by God for beliefs that they don't know about? So that always damaged my purpose when I thought about being an evangelist or something. I'm like, why am I out trying to preach messages, the messages of Christianity to people out in the, in places that have never heard of them, when, according to the preachers, those people aren't going to be held accountable for their beliefs if they've never been exposed to the decision, and or to the information on which they can make a decision. So as a Christian, I lacked purpose in that regard, and I just walked around afraid that all the people I loved were going to hell because they weren't Christians. And I have a lot more purpose now, because I believe in spreading love and light, and I believe that the more that we spread it, the more we lift each other up, the more everybody thinks more clearly, and everybody lives in a way that a person who thinks more clearly does. And we just spread love and light, and it comes back to us, and it bounces off of everybody, and we walk around like a bunch of little torches, just burning the crap out of each other and spreading light and spreading the flame, and it just makes the world a better place. And that's a sense of purpose that no Christian purpose can have, or no Christian person can have in the same way. Yeah, religion was built on a psychedelic trip. I think that humans evolved because of psychedelics. Our brains didn't. They grew in a weird way. They grew too fast. There are some questions in human evolution that are not explained to anyone's satisfaction. I forget what it is, but our brain doubled in the course of 200,000 years or 300,000 years or something like that. It's never happened anything close to that in the fossil record ever. Stoned ape theory, Wolfman, I just posted a thing. Yeah, Luke over at Project Knowledge posted a post about the stoned ape theory from Terrence McKenna, and I reposted it. Yeah, spreading helpful knowledge and building a community of rational people. That's what you're about. That's what I'm about, man. That's what it's about. Helpful knowledge and building a community of rational beings. And that was that whole diatribe earlier I got on about, being a community of rational people. Oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to describe this if someone hasn't seen it. Have you guys seen Parks and Recreation, that show? Have you seen where they have the cult and the people are called the rationalists? My 11-year-old kid brought this up the other day. Just about a month before I was called a cult leader for the first time. And there's on Parks and Rec, there's this group of people called the rationalists, and they're a cult. And they're the nicest people, and they're all well-dressed and productive members of society, and they're all buttoned down, old people, middle-aged people. Everybody's all rational and organized and everything, and professional. And the cult in the show, it started because there was a guy wrote a book called Organize Your Life. And then he wrote Organize Your Life Part 2, The Return of Zorp. And it's about this flaming meteor that comes and devours the earth. And it's it's making a joke out of what a ridiculous leap it is to go from writing a book about organizing your life to writing one about a flaming comet coming back to destroy the earth, and call yourself the rationalist. So the irony of all this here was just the humor of it. But I realized that literally that's me and everybody in this channel to some extent. Yeah, I mean, well, Haley, you called us a cult from the very beginning. I love you too. Yeah, but it was a really funny episode that totally applies to you guys because they wrote a book about organizing your life, which is exactly what Ashley and I started doing, was writing books on organizing your lives. And we were working on an app called Create Your Day. And then, all of a sudden shamanic philosophy was just birthed, in the midst of all this. And we've got, talking about comets coming back and all kinds of shit. And we're talking about being rational people. It's crazy. It's literally, it's TV. Flynn asks, what are my ideas on conspiracies such as 9/11, the moon landing, etc.? I actually used to run a conspiracy theory website. That's all I did, was conspiracy theories back in the day. And I got out of it for a number of reasons. I'll get back to it. I hate the term conspiracy theorist because it, for the same reasons I'm sure everybody else here does. But I mean, there's a lot of things that are not given to us straight. I think that's pretty obvious to people who look at it. The Vegas shooting was obviously not what it was made out to be. I mean, I don't want to just throw out blanket, ad hominem statements about backing conspiracy theories in general, because like, I don't believe the earth is flat. I'll tell you that. And I've looked at all the evidence for it. I would be, if I believed it, I would tell you. I would. And I do believe that they lie about stuff almost on that level. We do get lied to, but that's just, there are some things that scientifically don't cut the mustard for me. But I'm happy to talk about things on an individual basis, point by point. 9/11, I think we all probably on the same page about that. The moon landing, I don't know if they've been to the moon or not, but I'll tell you that they definitely have faked lots of pictures that I've personally seen and put out fake pictures and stuff like that. I personally do think they've been on the moon, just to be clear. But I don't think they went when they said they went necessarily. And they definitely faked a lot of pictures. I'm happy to show people those pictures. There's about 1 billion of them that are faked in 1 million different ways. All right. Scientia says, I think humans just tamed their environment fast, which left us able to think about more abstract things. I think observes great apes in captivity having this ability. Went to a zoo and observed orangutans building a contraption to obtain food. Do you feel there's something hidden in the North Pole? And then, yeah, so I'll get to the North Pole thing off the grid. Scientia, your point about the great apes, I'm totally on board with you. Yeah, apes are crazy. They can do all kinds of things. Primates, the higher primates, we can do all kinds of neat stuff. We've never seen any great apes' brains double in size in 200,000 years, though, and the apes have been around for longer than we have. There's no animal that's ever had its brain double in size in like I forget what it was, 200,000 or 300,000 years. I've got other reasons why I think that's interesting. The brain size is one thing, but I think that there are other problems with the story of human evolution. I believe in evolution. I think evolution's pretty clearly been demonstrated 1 million times in 1 million different ways, but the story of human evolution is incomplete. And I don't think that we have it quite figured out. Shit keeps getting older, like constantly. I just made a post the other day, like they're still finding whole new culture, or not cultures, but whole new, not species either. I'm not a biologist, but whole new civilizations of people in the Americas that like they don't understand anything about how they got there. Their DNA doesn't match up. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with the story of human evolution. That's totally off. Brains were not documented, Mom, but the brain space, the spatial cavity in the head was, and that's how they measured those things. And then, do I think something's hidden at the North Pole? Well, besides Santa and a bunch of polar bears that CNN doesn't want us to know about. No, I think the South Pole, yeah, not the North Pole. Personally, I don't think, but then I don't know. The North Pole, I don't know much about, but the South Pole, yeah, they're hiding all kinds of shit down there. The South Pole is one of the craziest places on the planet that no one ever talks about. Yeah, if you've never looked into like the Antarctica, all of the Antarctica conspiracies and stuff, like that's one of the most interesting, mysterious, like juicy, mysterious conspiracies out there to me is the Antarctica thing. Oh, Atlantis. Atlantis is my middle name, dude. That's what my life is about. We could definitely talk about Atlantis, but that's all we would talk about. This whole podcast platform is halfway built on Atlantis. You got to have Atlantis for me to exist, for me to have any purpose in life. Not really. But Atlantis, again, is different from what I think. But Atlantis is different from what I think it is probably different from what most people think it is. Advanced civilizations before... okay, Wolf says, I really think that there were advanced civilizations before... yeah, then some things went wrong and they were all wiped out. Yeah. Science has got it looks like a book, a book recommendation here. Or, oh no, that's your psychology major. Okay, yeah. Yeah, shit keeps getting older. Antarctica. Sorry, I'm jumping around. You guys have so much awesome stuff to talk about. Okay, let's stick on Antarctica for a second. You guys are in charge of managing the questions. I've got to look away from my phone, or I'm just gonna sit here and space out on you. So Antarctica's got. You can go on Google Earth and see cave systems in Antarctica that like cave entrances into the ice island itself that are just. They're obviously artificial, massive, crazy-looking cave entries and stuff. Like, I absolutely think there are flying saucers in South America. Let me just, or south in the South Pole in Antarctica, I don't necessarily think it's aliens or anything crazy like that, but we've got military bases or something going on down there. There's a lot of crazy shit that happens in Antarctica. I even traced out the path of that Malaysia Airlines flight that disappeared. Like, I traced it out myself. Like, I didn't see this anywhere. I've never seen it anywhere. So this is not bullshit. I promise to God. I traced out the path of that Malaysia Airlines flight 370 or whatever it was, all the way down. Like, if you followed the exact curvature of the path that they determined, or they're pretty sure that it went on, it dead ends right into one of these crazy cave entrances I'm talking about into Antarctica, and it disappeared potentially. Strongest hypothesis or theory is that it was headed south toward Antarctica at that time, down in the South Indian Ocean, and crazy shit now in Antarctica. I can't say it properly, but you should look it up anyway. Let's see. Let me see what I missed. Shit keeps getting older. I mean, the Denisovan Caves, Chauvet Cave, but at the Denisovan Cave, Adam's Calendar in South America, all the stone circles, or I keep saying South America, in South Africa. The Denisovans, the Denisovan Cave is that cave in Russia, I think it is. And they found ancient humans that were living very, very, in very modern situations, and they found not just Denisovan Cave in Russia, but those stone quarries in Russia now. They found these massive stone quarries in Russia that are tens of thousands of years old at least. And they have like laser cut marks in the stones. I've seen the videos, like long amateur videos of these old quarries and stuff. And these are cuts that can't be made by modern saws today. They're so like 3 millimeters thick, and they're cutting through like 50 feet of stone. Like, there's just we don't have anything that can do this today. Nothing. Blew my mind. And I only saw this stuff recently. But stuff keeps getting older. We've had advanced technology much longer. I think that we've lost a lot of technology in the last 1,700 years or so. Before that, I think we were doing a lot of crazy shit. We had lasers and clean energy and all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Catching up with you guys here. Yeah, Wolfman. I think there was a lot of stuff that happened. I think we had some earthquakes. I think we had volcanic activity, cometary impacts, the Younger Dryas impact. I'm a big believer in the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. Let's see what else we got. Pyramids. That's another thing. Like the pyramids, the mainstream guys say they're 5,000 years old. There's a lot of texts from Egypt that show that that there was a lot of work that happened on the Giza Plateau at that time, 5,000 years ago, which was 2500 BC. It was the 18th dynasty of Egypt, I think, or was it the third? I don't know anything, but the pyramids may have had a lot of work done there. The Giza Plateau, where they are, may have had a lot of work done there. But there's a habit that ancient people had, that not even just ancient people, but even people today, and certainly megalithic cultures in the past that built with large stones, they had a habit of building one temple on top of another temple. And if you look at Giza, it looks like that's what was done. There's a huge, most people don't realize, there's a huge platform underneath this stuff that goes all the way out here. And this platform is massive, and it's a different kind of stone. It's the pyramids are sitting on top of it. So I think that the platform was there much earlier. I think that was probably a holy site that went thousands of years older. A lot of things about the Great Pyramids a lot of people don't realize too. Most of the people in this channel probably do, but they're at the geodesic center of the Earth. Like this single, like microscopically, infinitely accurate area of the Earth. It's right in the middle of it. Let's see. Seed planter, what a beautiful question. The Hermetic principles. I live by the Hermetic principles, man, and we talk about them a lot. I haven't done a thing on them, but everything I do is kind of discussed within the context of Hermeticism and esotericism and metaphysics and stuff. So, Hermetic principles. I mean, we could talk about certain ones or whatever, but as above, so below, as within, so without, as with the soul, so the universe, as with the macrocosm, so the microcosm. I mean, that prayer that I leave you guys with, that's from the Emerald Tablets. I word it differently because it works better talking to you guys when I throw it out there. But it's may the light be upon you, may life be within you, and may you be a sun on the paths of all men. That's actually from the Emerald Tablets. He says it way more beautifully because, it's Thoth or Dr. Doriel channeling Thoth or whatever. Not thought, Thoth. I never heard that word thought. That ho over there, the acronym, I just learned that like in the last few months. I guess I'm getting old and out of touch. Yeah, Nassim Harriman. Was I talking to you about Nassim Harriman the other day, or was that someone else? Yeah, Nassim Harriman's the real deal. He's smart. He's a smart dude. He's an astronomer, if you guys don't know who he is. Nassim Harriman's sorry, I'm flipping through here. Nassim Harriman's an astronomer, a physicist, I think, or geophysicist or something like that. And he does a lot of work on astronomical alignments of ancient sites. And so that's another thing about the pyramids at Giza is, if they were built 5,000 years ago, it's interesting that their alignment, the way it's set up, points back to a time about 11,500 years ago. A lot longer ago than what they think. So I think they were probably there before. I think that the core of the pyramids is old. And I think that a lot of the stones that are on the outside of them, which we can't date because they're stone and you can't carbon date stone. I think a lot of the stones on the outside of the pyramid, even to this day with the casing stones gone, I think that these big blocks here are probably much, these might be newer. The ones on the inside might be a lot older. It's possible. Hermes Trismegistus is Thoth. I think, personally, for whatever it's worth, I think, I think he reincarnates into other individuals. That's what I think. I think he can either be channeled or he can be reincarnated. I think he reincarnates himself. Thoth does. I tend to think that his spirit lives off in the ether and you can tap into it when you get into the right mindset. Just like you can tap into anything else. One of the videos I have on the rabbit hole on the website, which I'm going to plug again, shamanicphilosophy.com. Go. And I'm working on... I just got on here to talk to you guys, and I didn't mean to... I'm having so much fun, but I didn't mean to make it this long. I was actually trying to work on the website for you guys and get all the playlists on YouTube up so you guys could check it out. But one of the ones I have is from Terence McKenna, and he says, imagination is a portal. And that's one of the best videos. Like, it's just such a beautiful video. Imagination is a portal. I think it's on the shamanicphilosophy.com website. So go check that out, because I think that's where people find Thoth. I think that's where Tesla found his information. I know that's where Tesla was open about where he found his information. He used his imagination, and when he went to sleep and when he laid down, he would only sleep about 2 hours at a time, and he would hello dear. Hey, somebody said that you and I have been a big inspiration to them. Aww. You and your girl. Yeah. So there's she says she loves you too. You're the worst. What was I saying? You guys she derailed me. Oh yeah, the Emerald Tablets. I think that you can reach out to that deeper knowledge by going within, whether it's with psychedelics or meditation or whatever, just within a visionary state. I think that you can access that stuff. I've written things in altered states of consciousness, like just from meditating and just getting my mind in that zone, and written things that I can promise you did not come from me. Promise you that didn't come from me. You can read anything I've written. You know how I write, and I've written things that definitely came from a much deeper, more intelligent source than myself. Can you video on YouTube about the Emerald Tablets with sound on the background for meditation? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put YouTube videos up, and I'm going to do the Emerald Tablets with the sound on the background for meditation, and maybe a psychedelic visual thing too. All right, what did Elisa say? I have a question. When using this as a foundation for time, does that mean we have to believe in Christ, or do you? No, everybody, it's even signed. Okay, so when using BC as a foundation for time, like when we're talking about AD or BC, does that mean we have to believe in Christ, or do I? So, yeah, Terence McKenna is like the New Age Ascended Master for sure. I think most of the people say that we're building up to the point where we're having a lot more Ascended Masters appearing, and I think he was one of many. Tesla was one too. As for the BC thing, I think that AD, yeah, you guys are the worst. But I love the questions; are amazing. It's the best questions ever. It's maybe the most interactive session we've ever had, which is so much fun. Yeah, BC, before Christ. Even scientists use that, so that's totally fine. We can use that. You don't have to believe in Christ. But I will say that, as for me personally, there is a difference. The word Christ got hijacked by Catholics in 330 AD, and yeah, you can say BCE. Yeah, before the Common Era is actually, yeah, good point. Yeah, BCE stands for before Common Era, and it's just as accepted as BC. But as for Christ consciousness, Jesus was Jesus. I mean, Jesus was a guy. He was Jesus of Nazareth. I think he was Jesus the Nazarene, which is a difference. This is definitely one that we could talk about and have a lot of fun with. But I think Jesus was all the evidence points to Jesus being a mushroom-eating hippie. I mean, he was with a group of woke-ass friends. They were all awakening in consciousness. He was born into a very special family with very special upbringing. He was a vegetarian, just like Pythagoras was, just like Apollonius of Tyana was. And he was an ascended master. They took him into the Great Pyramid. They initiated him into the esoteric ways. He didning grow up far from Göbekli Tepe, the Turkish astronomically beautiful site that they've recently unearthed. It's like older than anything else in the world. So Jesus was Jesus, but the Christ consciousness is a level of consciousness that we can reach as individuals and as a planet, where we can ascend to Christ consciousness, and that's what he talks about, is ascending to Christ consciousness. So we may be seeing the return of Christ consciousness in our time, and that Christ consciousness is very much the thing. It's not Jesus the Christ. It's Jesus was a Christ figure, the Christ figure going back to Osiris in Egypt and many other people along the way. A savior figure or an enlightened, ascended master figure. Yeah, we're going back to a whole different searching for enlightenment. Socratic See, you say Socratic, and it's funny because that's the proper thing to say, but I say like a Chrysipian way of searching for enlightenment. Chrysippus and Socrates being, hey Lyndon, I want to come back to your point there about there not being a J in the Hebrew language. For what it's worth, his name, I guess, was supposed to be Yeshua, and I don't know how you spell that in Hebrew. Horus was Horus, not Osiris. You're right. Horus was the Christ figure. Osiris was the Father in that Trinity, right? There's Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Horus was the Father. Osiris was the Father. Horus was the Son, and I don't remember what the Holy Spirit was in that Trinity, how that worked out, but that's what it was. Yeah, you're right. Well, what the hell was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Chrysippus, Chrys, Chrysippus, yeah, Sippus. He came from Socrates' school, the Stoic school, and he was beautiful. He came up with a whole different form of logic from Aristotelian logic. Chrysippus was a guy that came like 150 years after Plato. And yes, I've seen the pyramids in Japan. Or China. I don't know if I've seen the ones in Japan. I've seen Yonaguni underwater in Japan. But Chrysippus had a whole different way of looking at logic, and he used axiomatic logic, where he talked about, like, instead of like with Plato, you have like two premises and a conclusion, and the premise A is like Socrates was a man, all men are alive, therefore Socrates is alive, or something like that. Chrysippus's logic was different than that. It was Stoic logic, and it was, Stoicism is my thing. Versus Aristotelian logic. Aristotelian logic, I think, is a lot more left-brained. But I still love Aristotle. But I think it's funny. I got to say this, and I'll move on. But Chrysippus, I resonated with that dude so hard that I cried reading his Wikipedia page for the first time. Okay, I've never had that reaction to another person. I just felt like that was like me in a fucking previous life or something. Like I understood where he was coming from. Look up Chrysippus. It's funny that he was known as a prolific writer. He wrote 700 or 800 books or something, and none of them survived. Like, not one of his works survived. But we have like all these works from Aristotle and Plato and stuff, the Critias and Timaeus and the Metaphysics, and they didn't write nearly as much as Chrysippus. And it makes me wonder, like, how come that dude's writing didn't last when he was 100 years more recent than them? And I think it's because, like the Hermetic texts and like all the other esoteric tablets, I think that that the Catholic Church made it clear that stuff needed to disappear. And I think Chrysippus's logic, if we could unlock the secrets of Chrysippus, it would be like another, Renaissance from the Book of Thoth or something. Excuse me. All right. I don't have much to offer the pyramids in Japan conversation. Do I think Jesus' miracles are true, such as feeding the people and turning water into wine? I don't know. Honestly, man. I don't have any opinion on Jesus' miracles. I'm not trying to be a chicken shit on that and like back out of the question, but I genuinely don't know. I mean, I'm open to miracles. I'm open to that. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe it. It was written in a bunch of a handful of books that were written 50 years after we think he might have died if he ever lived. You know what I mean? It's shaky. It's shaky evidence for me. I try not to believe things unless they make sense to me, and that doesn't mean they have to make sense to somebody else. But that, I don't have any reason to believe it. But I wouldn't say it was impossible, because I do believe that a lot of crazy stuff is possible. Talk about collective consciousness. After the momentary topic of Christ consciousness, I feel it's appropriate to touch on our physical manifestation globally and our current level of collective consciousness. Yeah. Humans are self-conscious. Due to this uniqueness, we assume the characteristics of ourselves are somehow a perfection. Our think tank's working hard to bring in New World Order. He was a healer, but a miracle is a bit. Yeah, Lyndon, I'm kind of with you. He was a healer for sure. He was a shaman. He was a pagan. He was a conscious Gnostic truth seeker, and he loved everybody. And I see, you know who I see as Jesus is like my modern day Jesus is Martin Luther King. That's Dr. King is my modern day Jesus in my heart. Like that's who I think of. There are a lot of people who have come along, Gandhi and I would say Tesla and Newton and Da Vinci and Plato and Aristotle. Lots of people come along, but not everybody is a Jesus figure. But to me, Jesus and like Gandhi and Dr. King are like three people that are of the highest level of just as far as what they dedicated their lives to, and how they expressed their love and their truth. They expressed their truth with so much love and so little judgment. See, Malcolm, I'm not a Malcolm X guy. I mean, I'm obviously I know that he is so important to people of color and the empowerment of people of color, and that's important. But that's not. Jiddu Krishnamurti is another one too. Malcolm X, I'm a white guy. He didn't really like white people. I don't have any problem with him, but he didn't preach the same way that Dr. King did. There's a difference there. That's all I'm saying. Not to diminish anything that Malcolm X said or did. Yeah, but Jesus was a philosopher healer. That to me is like the ultimate. It's like the ultimate intersection of healing the mind and the body and the spirit. He was like the shamanic philosopher. Everything. He was. Jesus is the man. Why would his birth documented, but none of his life after that was until he was around 30 or so? And it is the documentation of what he was doing as a teenager. Yeah. So why? The question is like, where is the documentation of Jesus's life? And so my view on this, Lyndon, I think you and I are pretty much on the same page. By the way, I'm going to back up to Jiddu Krishnamurti. If you look at Dat Unruly Slave, he misspelled the shit out of his first name, but it's Jiddu Krishnamurti. He's another Jesus figure in our lifetime. He was a 14-year-old Indian kid that was adopted by the Theosophical Society in like 1920 to become the leader of the world of like 20 million Theosophical Society members. And after like 10 years, he just stopped. He was like, I don't want to be the leader of anything. No religious movement should not have a leader, that kind of thing. He's a humble dude. Very deep, though. Not everybody's as deep as you, Lyndon. So his documentation, Haley, coming back to, have I ever spoke to a higher source when I took a shroom trip? Yes, I have, absolutely. I've talked to Thoth, and I've seen other worlds with him. But I'm going to answer Haley's question first. Of the Jesus documentation, where is the documentation for Jesus? There, in like 1949 or 47 or something, they discovered this thing called the Nag Hammadi Library, and it was out in the desert. I just picture it happening exactly like it did in Aladdin, the Disney movie. And they just went digging in the desert, and they dug up this library of scrolls. It was these goat herders, and they found like a big cache of like scrolls and stuff. And they actually like had to make some tea back at the goat farm, and they actually used some of the scrolls to set them on fire, and make tea with to start their fire as kindling or whatever, or tinder. But they found out that this is actually documentation on the life of Jesus that was a lot more thorough and a lot more chronologically local to where Jesus was. So like the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the modern Bible were written, like even Bible scholars have to admit, like they were written like 50 plus years after Jesus died, or 70 years or something like that. I can't remember offhand. But the Gnostic scrolls and stuff found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and then the Nag Hammadi Library tell a very different story, a much more spiritual picture of Jesus, right? And also a much more human picture of Jesus. There's a movie coming out called Magdalene, I think, about Mary Magdalene. And I'm expecting, it's got Joaquin Phoenix in it. Looks amazing. You guys go look up the trailer on YouTube whenever you subscribe to the channel, so we can get the YouTube viewers up. But Magdalene movie about Mary and Jesus, and he looks like a very human guy. So go check that out. That's what I think, Haley. I think I'm sorry. There is documentation, but he wasn't doing special things during that time. He was also born to a nomadic, tribal, shamanic family. Mary and Joseph raised him up in this really awakened, conscious household. And I just don't think they had a lot of documentation on it. When he was born, they knew he was going to be special. The stars all aligned. My friend, Friend of Man, if you guys don't follow him, it's like _ Friend of Man. He and Dat Unruly Slave, you guys are all my friends. These guys I steal stuff from constantly. But Friend of Man, he talks a lot about the star prophecy, the three wise men and the cross and all this stuff. It's all a star prophecy. When you hear all the iconography that goes into the legend of Jesus, it's really an astrological narrative that kind of tells you what the stars were doing, the cross, the coming of the three wise men. I've got some stuff on the Instagram feed about it, but they knew that he was going to be a special kid. They knew there's something about at that time, like what happens in, every so often periodically, I think you get astronomical markers for when somebody crazy is going to be born. And that's what those prophecies are based on. They're star prophecies. They're not, they didn't know his name was going to be Jesus and stuff and all that, all these stories of Horus and everybody else way back. They all had the same star signs in the heavens whenever they were born as Jesus. It's a total thing. Where were we? Did King Herod ever come face to face with Jesus? I doubt it. I think if anything, he was probably lynched, to be honest with you. And he certainly never came face to face with him. I don't imagine. I don't know that there's any evidence for it. I shouldn't say that. I don't know that there's any evidence for it, man. That's all I can say. I've never seen any evidence for it. Well, I would say that if you're 17, I can't recommend that you take psychedelics, just to be clear. But for, if someone was 18 and a consenting adult, I would say that you should be safe when you do it. I'm kind of antsy about giving out psychedelic advice to a minor. But if you take him in a safe environment, you're probably, you're okay, depending on what you take. I guess, yeah, psychedelics are psychedelics. They're all different. I'm a mushroom guy myself. But you don't have to have psychedelics to have a spiritual experience. That's important to understand, You can do it without psychedelics. Just do it with mindfulness and good reading. Read the Emerald Tablets. Meditate a bunch. Be a vegan or a vegetarian. Yeah, I was in high school and some kids took some mushrooms and went to go see The Matrix when it came out. Like the original Matrix. That's not a good way to do it. All right, guys, I'm going to do one more, I think, and I'm going to bounce. I've been podcasting for like 3 hours now. But we got great podcasts, and you guys are amazing, and this made my day. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I can't shut it down because I got to tell you guys how awesome the world's been. I'm not going to give you the big, long story, but I just want to tell you, be thankful. Oh, wait, hold on. Now Lyndon's got good information. Going to step in the door and derail me again. You jerk. Jesus is symbolic of the sun. Yes, that's correct. That's why all Christ figures have all the same attributes. It's the astrological birth of the sun, the actual rebel himself. History is hidden. Yeah. The sun representing Christ's consciousness also in the higher spiritual dimension. The higher spiritual dimension, as above, so below, everything replicates at a smaller and smaller level. So the birth of the sun is also representative of the birth of Christ consciousness as we go through the day and night of the human race of consciousness. Everything is a spiral. Everything is a waveform, and the birth of Christ consciousness, the coming of the sun, all this stuff is all linked together, astrologically and quite literally. Yeah, that unruly. That's Lyndon, guys. That's my buddy. He was, I'll tell you something about that unruly slave. I almost didn't eat. I almost quit Instagram, like quit posting stuff, and just followed him and Friend of Man and Project Knowledge. I almost just didn't even have any reason to post. I was like, this guy posts all the fire all day long. And he inspired me so much. And now he and Friend of Man and Project Knowledge are all my buddies. And we all hang out and talk about Christ consciousness and stuff. Loving people, teaching people to love each other, teaching people to love themselves. Love yourself. That's what I was going to say, and then I am going to go jet. I have been bombarded with frustrating little situations in my life the last couple days, and I had to stop and take a look at what was going on around me, because it was just shockingly frustrating stuff. That was little stuff that was kicking me in the shins in life, and I went inside and kind of looked inward a little bit, and realized something that needed to be said on here to you guys. I know that you guys know this, but I think that maybe by saying this, I can bring this to the forefront of your attention. And if I do nothing but that in this whole talk, then I've served my purpose. But whenever things happen to you, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you. And that is that sounds like such a simple little tidbit of advice, but I know that it's hard to keep that in mind and be cognizant of it when you're dealing with crap. But when you do, that's why it's so important that you back up and meditate and take time to look in at what's going on in your mind and then process that stuff. But you guys, you got to realize that things work out best for people who make the best of the way things turn out. And things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. And in every challenge, there's a lesson. And if you don't go through those situations, you'll never get there. JC was just telling me about lobsters the other day, how a lobster sheds its tail shells, or its tail shell, or whatever. Maybe its whole shell. And then it lodges itself up underneath a rock while it regrows the whole crustacean exoskeleton thing. But it has to make itself as uncomfortable as possible to be safe from predators and stuff like that. And he was presenting that as an allegory for our lives. Is that, you have to get as uncomfortable as possible sometimes for change to happen and for the new exoskeleton to develop. And without all the challenges you've been through, you wouldn't be where you are. You wouldn't be who you are. You wouldn't be as strong as you are. You wouldn't have the tools that you have. It's the challenges that we go through that cause us to develop instinctively and defensively develop the tools and the coping mechanisms by which we can then go through life in a lot better situation with a lot better equipment to deal with things and to make a bigger impact on things. I think of the challenges that I've been through in my life and the challenges that Ashley's been through in her life. They're very, very, very different, right? Young black girl, young white guy, doesn't get a whole lot different than that. But those challenges that she's endured have equipped her to help people and reach people that I just can't. And maybe vice versa. So that's all I wanted to hit you guys with, was just be thankful, man. Be thankful every single day. The art of prayer and the art of giving thanks and actually meditating on what it means to be thankful for your life and to be thankful for the challenges that you get. It's so important, and it will make such a big difference in your life if you can do that. And if you're ever having a hard time with that, reach out to me on Instagram. Reach out to anybody else in this community. We're here to be a light for everybody else. And in case you didn't catch the blessing earlier, I'm going to get you guys out of this. May the light be upon you. May life be within you. And may you be a sun on the paths of all men. Feel the love today, guys. Thank you all so much. Have an awesome week.
Now we can't remember who we are.